We're back at RSAC Conference 2025, and we are recording live here from CyberSG TV studio in Broadcast Alley at Moscone, not east, west. I ended up walking into somebody's house yesterday. But I'm your host, Doug White. I am from Security Weekly News, and I asked for this interview particularly because joining me is Benjamin T., who is the Ecosystem Vice President for the University of Singapore, which you may not know this about me, but I love Singapore, and all my college roommates were from Singapore, and it's a great place. They have great food. It's beautiful. They have good weather. The weather's always the same.
It's the same, yes.
Singapore never changes. Now, all of my old roommates couldn't get into the University of Singapore, which was familiar with me, but So welcome here, Benjamin.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, you had a long flight.
Yes,
not
I just
too
arrived
bad
yesterday.
though,
Yeah.
to San Francisco.
Still getting over jet lag, but I'll do my best.
Yeah. Okay. When did you get here?
Got here yesterday morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's still on that 12 hours.
That's right. Still.
Okay. Now you've done a lot of outreach. This is your big focus, promoting Singapore. Like I saw you had done the NUS Overseas Colleges program, and then you had a bunch of other research programs, and you built your own companies, and
that's right.
AI robotics and medical. So I'm a little like, maybe they shouldn't let me talk to you. I may not be in your league, but the thing that you want to talk about is called the Center. And so that's called the CyberSG Talent Innovation Growth Collaboration Center, right?
That's right.
So why don't you tell us what that is to start with?
Sure. Well, our mission really is to advance and grow Singapore's cybersecurity ecosystem through very strategic partnerships with the government as well as the public sector, industries, startups, including startups, because we think that the ecosystem pieces that's required for a vibrant cybersecurity landscape in Singapore is really about three things: talent, innovation, and growth. So we just named it TIG.
Yeah.
And importantly, we have to collaborate across different sectors, and that's why it's a collaborative center.
Okay. So how do you? Singapore wasn't always known for being a cybersecurity center, right? It's been known for other things, but how do you go from that to becoming a competitor in the world?
Right. Well, frankly speaking, our journey is very young. We have set our sights on becoming a premier and vibrant cybersecurity ecosystem. We are getting there. We're not exactly there, which is why I think this center tries to really boot scale ourselves quickly in the cybersecurity space. I think Singapore is a very trusted brand. We have very efficient systems, and we want to make sure that we have the ability to maintain such trust. And therefore, cybersecurity, right? We've just seen this tremendous growth in cybercrime, trillions of dollars and loss and so on. So we think that we really want to secure our physical capabilities as well as the digital capability, and hence cybersecurity. Today, we just talked about it, permeates everywhere. Everybody at some point have had a brush with the cybersecurity alert, and we're just seeing so much instances of hacking and systems failure that we think now is the best time to help consolidate our efforts through this center we call TIG. And the nice thing is, it's like the tiger for cybersecurity. TIG also rhymes with tiger. So I think we really aim to bring together the best of government, the best of private sector, and the best of academia.
Okay.
National University of Singapore is really a premier institution when it comes to cybersecurity research and computer architecture. Everything related to software, we are pretty top notch. We have great researchers. But what we lack, I think, is the ability to interface very strongly with the private sector, together with government, I would say, policy making that will allow us to leapfrog ahead and build a very trusted brand in cybersecurity for Singapore.
I think that's a common problem. I did a lot of work with that back in like 2005 or something, and we were looking, not trying to necessarily grow a center of cybersecurity, but we were looking at the problem of small and middle-sized companies, state, local government type agencies, which had very little funding in the United States for this and very little interest in this because they just didn't feel threatened. And also then federal, so that's the national level government, and private sector. And when we first went to this, I thought, it's obvious. I'll make these calls, everybody will be like, yeah. And instead, I was like, there is no way we would ever participate in any information sharing with anyone, and it was
Right.
just like, whoa, and we got just stonewalled.
Yeah.
So how do you start to pull all those things together?
Well, essentially you articulated what we call a cold start problem,
Mhm.
or chicken and egg problem. Essentially, you kind of need to demonstrate that you have the ability to help
Yes.
companies first, and usually to reduce the friction of that, government policies, financial support tends to help, and so that's why in the center, and actually we've been partnering with CSA, Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, for a while now, even predating the center. We have launched programs like CyberCall, where we encourage private participants, private companies, to look for solutions to match them with startup capability that are innovating, and helping them consolidate it into a real project with a fixed time frame, so that the outcome can be very measured. In this way, we've started to see some interesting successes around this program, where companies who have gone on to our program and have developed solutions for our industries, for example,
Okay.
maritime, have actually been gone on to get acquired after the program, right? And we actually support it up to $750,000 for a project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people come to you. So pretend I have something valuable, which I don't, a private company with something for maritime, and I bring that to you, and then this is going to be supported by your.
Yes.
So does that have to be in Singapore?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the good thing in Singapore is very global. We have no domestic flights,
yeah.
right? So in some way,
Yeah.
and because of the fact that I think we're trying to encourage more positioning in Singapore as a cybersecurity hub, being in Singapore makes a lot of sense for companies
Right.
to enter, and we kind of require that ability for the company to be to actually do most of the activities in Singapore, to help our local enterprises or large companies based in Singapore.
And I mean, and that's a great location for Oceania and Southeast Asia for sure, because
right.
Singapore is the sort of central hub
Yep.
of that whole
Exactly, yes.
region, from New Zealand all the way
Yeah.
on back up in to China and Japan and
Yeah.
all that. So because a lot of flights connect through there,
Yes.
even if you're going to Japan or somewhere.
That's
sometimes
right. That's
like,
right. Within a 6-hour window, you can go to most of Asia Pacific
Yeah.
from Singapore.
Singapore International Airlines.
Yes.
Very nice airline.
It's a great airline,
that
yes.
I've always liked. But
It's a great way to fly.
it is a great
It's
way
the
to
tagline.
fly. They should give me first class for that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you heard that. So at what stage is the project? So how is it advancing now?
Yeah, great question. I think we are really looking at projects from small seed funded companies to larger, medium-sized cybersecurity
Okay.
companies. The projects can range from government requirements, on-prem, off-prem type of security systems, to full-scale deployment across multiple sectors.
Okay.
So the project size is really limited by the amount of funding we can provide, which is up to 750,000. So depending on whether that is something that the company is interested to build for, right, it's up to the company to choose the amount they will need to support a solution being deployed
Okay.
for our, well, I call clients, but really about, it could be government or it could be private sector.
And is that so? That's like an incubator then. So I mean, it's like I'm gonna propose my company. I'm gonna bring my seed money and your seed money, come to Singapore, get set up.
That's right.
And then we can develop that. What would our obligation to you on that be?
Right. So that's also another great point, right? Because we are very collaborative, we actually include, beyond just CyberCall, which is a government-funded program, we actually have what we call a innovation platform, right? Where we allow companies to get accelerated through our partnership with Plexo in UK, for example, where we bring best-in-class acceleration programs for younger companies to get to scale deployment. So this partnership just started, right? And I think we're slowly expanding. I think today we have helped 20 plus companies through such programs. So there's an acceleration part for earlier stage funded companies. There's also a scaling part for later stage larger companies that want to bring their technologies into Asia, right? And Asia in the next 10 years will have a GDP in the top 4 or 5.
Absolutely.
Right, so I think as a collective whole, as a block, it's quite interesting.
It's a rapidly growing region. I mean, it always has been a very important region, but I think in the cybersecurity realm, it's a rapidly growing region and may well be the next big hub. It sounds like from that. Are there opportunities for other non-companies, like, so obviously some of my viewers are academics. Are there opportunities for academic interventions from, say, the University of pick someplace, and they get involved in these projects as well?
Absolutely, right. I think one of the other programs that the CSA run is a research platform, and we actually do encourage research collaborations across the world with top researchers, right? So I think one way is to just look up TIG, send us a message about your interest and what kind of cybersecurity solutions you're deploying or thinking of deploying, and let us help you connect to the right parties within the Singapore ecosystem, right? Yeah.
Because I mean, when we were looking at this stuff, we were trying to build like back end pieces for like small and medium. I was really focused on trying to help small and medium sized businesses, because the big companies, I was like, they got this. Right. But we had a lot of those, and we had police agencies. We were trying to find ways to back end that into academics so that they could say, here's what we need. And maybe there were some academics who could build, develop or research those kind of those products for them to get those out.
That's right.
I don't know how successful that was, because we didn't have the kind of resources that you do, and we didn't have you.
Yeah.
We should have hired you to come in and run it, but it was really a public service thing rather than an actual regional try to focus kind of thing like that. So now you told me that this is the first time that you've been represented at RSAC. So you want to tell me a little bit about that? Like, how did that come about?
So we actually, for the first time this year, actually have a booth we call the Singapore Pavilion, where we showcase 6 cybersecurity companies from Singapore, ranging from IoT to various cybersecurity solutions. And I think what we hope to do, really, I think we see RSA as an important platform to position Singapore as a global cybersecurity hub because of the people that you're able to bring to RSA. Right. And we see that our ability to bring some of our technologies here to showcase hopefully can land deals cross countries, right, between US and Asia.
Yeah, I mean that's visibility. That's the first thing of marketing, right?
Like I'm being on this show helps.
Absolutely,
example, right?
and the more people that hear your message, you may get talent on the way and whatever.
Talent is the
you do have that going for
yes.
you, because some people are trying to attract talent to places nobody wants to go.
Yes, right.
And Singapore is really nice. I'm just telling you, like Singapore is not sponsoring me.
I have to agree. Yes.
I guess my last question for you is what makes this different? I mean, what's making you unique compared to all the other places that might be trying to do things like this?
Well, I think what's generally in Singapore, we tend to think in multi-decades. And what's unique is we really want to start at a very high level, saying, look, this is cybersecurity is of national strategic importance. We aim to build a collaborative platform between private, government, and academia, right? Which is very rare, I think, for most institutions to be able to have that high concentration of resources. And that's something that I think makes us a little bit unique. And the fact that we don't have domestic flights, so we welcome everybody into Singapore as well as from Singapore outwards. So in that sense, we are highly global, and that lends very well to cybersecurity, which is a global enterprise. I don't think, despite all the challenges that we see, cybersecurity will play an important role for everybody.
Yes. Everyone's equally impacted. The threat surface is not like isolated. It's like everywhere, and we're all at risk. So would you say that because Singapore is small in size?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people there, but it's a very small island. Would you say that interaction between government and academia and industry is facilitated by that size? I mean, everybody's close. I mean, it's how big is the island?
The island is roughly about 700 square kilometers, and we have about close to 6 million people.
Right, so everybody's pretty close.
Yes,
and
high density.
That means you can walk to some other place and meet up with them. So, I mean, so would you say that kind of helps to enmesh all this?
Absolutely. I think the center exists because just putting people together, 1 + 1 just gives you 2. The center creates a synergy where 1 + 1 is greater than 2. Because we lower the activation energy to form bonds, right? Okay, coming from a physics background. So we just aim to allow stronger bonds to be forged between participants across various sectors. I think that's the difference the center brings, right? Very concerted, fully resourced, multi-million-dollar effort from the government, from National University of Singapore, and the private sector. Over time, we aim to grow this significantly. And I think that we only started the center in September 2023.
I think it's smart. I mean, I think it's a great location
Thank you,
for a growing region that is equally impacted by cybersecurity issues and so forth. So I think it was a smart move, and Singapore is a very, very central, easy to reach location in
Yeah.
very stable uh, economy, very stable
Yes,
government,
that's right.
and all those things that you
Absolutely.
kind of want when
Yes.
you're putting companies in various locations internationally. Because that when I get asked for international consulting questions, I used to do consulting for people that were planning to open business in China, and one of their first questions almost always, "What do you think about this city?"
Right.
And I mean, China is pretty stable, really, but they were like, "What do you think about this city?" And it's like, I don't know, I haven't been there. Maybe you should send me there, and I'll check it out. But Singapore is just such a stable place, and it's been there for a long, long time, and
Yes.
and so that sounds exciting.
It's very
I,
exciting.
I,
Please
I'm
come to Singapore very soon.
I hope so. Wouldn't that be awesome? Well, if you want to find out more about CyberSG, please visit securityweekly.com/CyberSGRSAC. Thank you, Benjamin T, for coming on the show
Likewise, my
today.
pleasure.
And thank you again for being here watching me. I think that's my last interview at this year's RSAC conference. So thanks for having me on. If I don't
Save
get
the best for the
banned-
last.
Is what?
Saving the best for the last.
This guy. But that I tell you, that's you stick around though. We got more content. There's still more to go here at RSAC before this all wraps up this evening. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon on the Security Weekly News.